So that's developer 101. You never take down your land till you get your approvals. So the LOI and contract. So LOI is just clarification of terms. Once we agree on terms, we go to contract. So all of my contracts are structured where I have a minimum, depending on the project, of 45 to 90 days for that initial feasibility. So that's where I'm going to determine. I don't even put any money up for that. I don't even put a deposit up. You know, it's a contract that I have, you know, contractual rights to the property, and I don't put any earnest money up until I get through 45 to 90 days of my initial feasibility to determine what can I do, is it going to get approved, and how much is it going to cost, and is it going to make money? So I do all that in 45 to 90 days. And once I decide, yes, it works, then we put the earnest money deposit up. So the contract is going to call for, you know, I'm paying $1 million for the land. I know I can get 100 units, or, you know, I think I can get 100 units. So that's, you know, $10,000 a unit. So the contract says if my density is reduced for any reason, the contract gets reduced, contract price gets reduced at closing by that amount. So if it's $10,000 a door, then I only get 90 instead of 100. I reduce it $10,000 at closing. So that's how I, you know, that's all part of the LOI negotiation. So you write that in the contract. And then once I cross that first hurdle of financial or feasibility study period, then there's going to be an earnest money deposit due, usually around, you know, 1 to 5%, depending on the price of the land. You know, maybe 10% if you have a, you know, really hot piece of land. So I'll put that refundable earnest money deposit up. That if for some reason that project does not get approved, or if I get down zoned, meaning at any point during the process, if the property gets down zoned for much, much less density that's even going to make sense financially, to where even a purchase price adjustment doesn't make sense, you know, which a lot of times it won't, then I have the ability to walk and get the earnest money back. So that's kind of how that works. Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's a lot like real estate, right? So when you're looking at a business, you want to understand who's your customer, who's your market, what are the economics of the deal. So not only economics of the company as a whole, what's the income, what's the expenses, what are the opportunities to grow, scale, and expand, and what's the market out there for that, what's it going to take, but also unit economics. So if it's a brick and mortar business, you know, you're going to have a facility, whether it's a leasehold business like restaurants or retail or something like that, you're going to have certain unit economics. In other words, how many dollars per square foot does that business generate, right? So you start looking at all your KPIs and all your metrics of the business, and then understand, is there growth potential? And businesses trade on a multiple of their net operating income to a real estate deal is EBITDA to a business, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So that's like an NOI for real estate. So at the end of the day, what you want to look at is, what's the EBITDA of the company? What is it generating? What is the multiple average for the industry at acquisition at the level it's at? Once you build it up to a certain level, and there's exponential benchmarks for companies in terms of number of locations, number of businesses, if you're, you know, rolling up fragmented, you know, businesses like a dental practice, and you buy a bunch of dental practices, or, you know, veterinary clinics or restaurants or whatever it is, as you get a certain number of businesses into that portfolio, the value of it grows exponentially. When it comes to a general business like manufacturing or software or something like that, software could be number of users, to where exponentially over a certain amount that the multiple goes up exponentially. So let's say you have 1 million users on a platform, the multiple might be 10x. Once you hit 10 million, the multiple might be 15 or 20x for the same product. You see what I'm saying? So same thing in like a manufacturing company. Once you know, let's say at 10 million, you might have a 5x multiple, but once you hit 100 million, you might have a, you know, 15x multiple. You know, just because you're at that volume level. Then there's then you look at driving, you know, to the bottom line, enhancing the EBITDA. So if it's an owner operated business, maybe they've been running some, you know, things through the company instead of reporting it as income, they've just been offsetting. So you want to boost that EBITDA, boost that income, just like in a real estate deal. It's all about the net operating income. So the more you show on the bottom line, the more it's worth. So kind of the same process. You look at the market geographically as well as economically, you know, what's the market for the product and the business, as well as what market is it in, and what's the growth, and you know, how are you going to be able to increase the value of the company? Yeah, so it's a very different environment when it comes to competition and where it's going to come from. So not only do you need to look at, you know, Amazon proof if you're retail or whatever, you need to be able to now anticipate what's coming next. Where is it going next? Like, for instance, remote working. So through the pandemic, we've all learned man, we don't need as much office space as we thought.
Sure.
We can actually, this actually works, you know,
Right. Mm-hmm.
not as good as face-to-face, but it works and it can work.
Sure.
So now that whole environment's changed of, man, do I even need an office? Do I even need a brick and mortar presence? And your competition's coming in a lot of different areas from a lot of different directions. So you have to really start thinking now when you're looking at business that has been traditionally done, even restaurants that all relied on dine in, you know, versus that takeout option and, you know, those types of things. You have to really be able to, number one, pivot when the unforeseen happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to be able to position yourself uniquely in the marketplace where, you know, people are going to want to go out of their way to do business with you if there are other more convenient, easier options out there.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to survive and compete, you have to be uniquely positioned to where people they're not going to go to Amazon, they're going to come to you.
Sure.
There's a reason they're going to, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
you got to think on those levels at every level in every business now. And then if you're going online, then you need to think about, well, how quickly am I going to become obsolete?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you're out there, everybody else is going to see you, and the big players, you know, may or may not compete with you and stamp you out. Some of them might kind of help you grow because they want to buy you, because it's easier just to let you grow, help you, and buy you versus to try to fight you. But some might just put you slam out of business.
Sure.
And, you know, and do that. So you need to understand, if you're going online and you're going against the big boys and girls, where do you want to be in that cycle, and how do you position yourself to be on the good side where you're helped, you're bolstered, and you're an acquisition target versus somebody they're just going to stamp out.